Peace and blessings, everyone. Grand rising, but it's almost afternoon where I'm at, so good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time of day you watch this video. So, I was contemplating on a few things, and I just wanted to speak on it. The importance of getting back to this practice. I think as a community for Black people, especially in America, our foundational Black Americans, our Aboriginal Americans, also known as Aboriginal Americans, but we often go by the misnomer of African American, right? Because majority of us Black people in America are actually indigenous to this land. We did not come over here on slave ships, but that's a different topic for another time. I wanted to get into really addressing the importance of invoking our ancestors' names, remembering our ancestors, honoring them, and invoking them. I'm not going to take too long. It's beautiful outside. I got to sleep in. This was the first day I actually got to sleep in a while. But I think that it's important to invoke our ancestors, to say their names, constantly say their names, calling on them, right? For several reasons. One, because they'll never leave us. When we do that, they'll always be with us, watching us, guiding us. They'll always be present, right? And not forgotten. But also because they hold space for us beyond this physical realm. They hold space for us. They intercede for us, and they clear out and open up. They clear our paths, and they open up doors, right? So, I think it's something that we should do regularly. Make it a point regularly to write their names, say their names, provide offerings to them, burn incense for them, pour libation for them, just as we would do any other ritual, with an oratio, with a spirit guide, for an angel, a ritual for bringing in finances, for opening up doors. It is important to perform rituals for our ancestors, also to clear up things for them as well, because oftentimes you have ancestors who have left this dimension, this physical realm, without finishing some things. So burning ancestral money, burning offerings for them, often clears out space, clears up maybe debt that they may hold, right? It's really important to, and I think for my generation, being a Gen Xer, I think it's important that we definitely get back to, I remember doing this, I remember stories from my mother saying that when she was a kid, she would remember the ancestors, my ancestors bought land. They had lots of land, and they had built a church, but they had a field, woods behind the church where they would gather and they would speak and they would tell stories and they would invoke the names of those who passed on, and they would also call upon a higher power, spirits, They use it as an opportunity to not just fellowship with each other, but to include those that have gone on from this realm, the ones we know and we do not know. Not yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday, so Saturday, I hung out with my youngest sister and her youngest son. And after dropping her and her youngest son back home, I stopped by my family cemetery. As I said, my family owns a church and there's a cemetery. Everybody in the cemetery is mostly family. That's laid to rest in the cemetery is mostly family. And I just went. I cleaned off my grandparents and great-grandparents and my uncle who were buried in the family plot. And then I just stood for a while. We have a board in our cemetery that has every name of every person in the cemetery. And I just thought about all of them. As I grazed over their names, as I looked at their names, I quietly, silently whispered and talked to them. And I think it's important that we get back to that. I think it's important that we don't just navigate this life, moving through life and grieving over our loved ones when we laying them to rest, sending them home, but also honoring them and performing rituals in their name and clearing out space for them, and so that they can clear out space for us, right? I think it's important that we also teach our children, the younger generations, especially those that hold a sacred space with the universe, especially our children who hold a sacred space with the universe, guide them and teach them how to get back to ancestral honoring, root work, magic, meditation, holistic healing. Teach them that their gifts and abilities of sight, being an empath, being clairaudient, clairsentient, whatever clair abilities they have, that it's not them crazy, it's not a crazy thing, and it's not, don't make it taboo, something that makes you uncomfortable to talk about, you know. I think that it's important for us as a people, as a culture, to start remembering who we are and teaching our children who they are, so that if we embrace it, right? And our ancestors are counting on us. My nose is starting to run, really starting to run. Our ancestors are counting on us to find our way back to our roots, to who we are, right? To know know self and our identity, and step back into the spirituality. And not to say not to step back from religion, but to search for the truth of it all, the meat of it all, to get to the meat of it all, to the bones, and understand where religion comes from, right? And to fully understand what they've taken out of religion, what religion has taken away from you, and taught you that root work, voodoo, honoring the ancestors, ritual work is all wicked, because it's not. Because honestly, your religion, Christianity, Catholics, you perform rituals. You perform rituals. When you go to Mass and you light a candle, right? Or you go to prayer, you light a candle. That's a ritual. When you have communion, whatever Sunday you have communion, they break the little cracker, they break bread, they pour wine or juice, and you do it in remembrance of Jesus. I will say the Christ, because that's what spirits refer to him as, the Christ. That's a ritual. It's a remembrance ritual. It's an honoring ritual. So it's important that we understand what is happening, what we're being told is okay to do, and what it's being disguised as. So I encourage you to invoke your ancestors' name. I do often. I haven't done it in a while. I'm going to create a space coming up, and I think I'm going to do it coming up on Labor Day, where everybody else is probably celebrating the end of summer. And kids will be going back to school, and college students are probably off to college if you have college students. But I think that I'm going to truly take the time to prepare a meal, things that my ancestors like, pour libation that I know they liked, burn some ancestral money, because I do make my own ancestral money, so I'll print some out and burn it, and light a candle in remembrance of them and invoke their name. It's important to do so. Get some honeysuckle incense, because I know my ancestors are fond of honeysuckle. I have some dried marigold. Maybe I'll mix that and make it a burning blend, or herbal incense blend to burn. I think it's important that we turn back and we embrace all those things that modern Christianity, I would say white supremacy Christianity, because the truth of the matter is Christianity is older than you think, but it's not older than voodoo. Voodoo's much older than Christianity. In the King James version of the Bible is missing so many books, where if you buy an Ethiopian Bible that's much older than the King James version, it has all the books that are missing out of your King James version of the Bible. I encourage you to read it, because you'll understand some things. It'll bring enlightenment. It'll illuminate, and bring to light and some clarity to things that you're misunderstanding. But also to really understand that your ancestors had a way of honoring and worshiping the universe that wasn't demonic, that didn't require them to sell their soul to the devil. So I don't know, I just felt the need to speak on that, invoking your loved ones' names and keeping them alive even after they've gone and left this dimension. It's important to, especially us as a people, for the culture of us, it's important to. It's not to say that if you're not so-called African American that you shouldn't do this, but I really encourage my people to embrace the ways of our ancestors. As I'm saying embrace, it was through 333 on my timer. It's crazy because I've been doing this a long time, and I've been told by family members, mostly by family members, that I was lost, I was confused, I needed Jesus. And honestly, I needed Jesus like I needed a hole in the head. Now, do I believe in Christ? Christ is an energy, absolutely. I've come across spirits that refer to him as Christ and never refer to him as Jesus. Yes, I do. He was a magician, and he believed in meditation. He practiced meditation, which they're telling you was prayer, but was often meditation, right? And meditation is prayer. He believed in magic. Turning water into wine wasn't a miracle, it was magic. And I've seen magic. I've seen things turned from one thing into another thing. I've seen cigarettes turned into money. Money that you could spend, real money, that you could spend. I won't really go through the whole process and how it was done just yet. If Spirit leads me to share it, then I'll share it. But I've seen it. I've seen things. I've called up spirits, just as Jesus, the man that you call Jesus, but I refer to as Christ, called up Lazarus after he died. I've called up spirits. I've helped spirits cross over through rituals. Through rituals. I think it's important to remember I've spoken to ancestors I've never even met in my lifetime. I know their names though, and their names were very familiar to me when they came to me and talked to me. Because I invoke their names, I read their names, I invoke their names, I make it a point to remember and honor them. And then they guide me. They give me insight. And I value them. Value them. I've learned to value those who have gone from this world just as much as I value those who are here. And I've learned to love on them just as I love on those who are here in this physical realm with me. So I'm not going to stay too long. I'm about to get out of here. About to go and take care of some business. It's such a beautiful day. And my son didn't have to go to work today, so I think I'm going to go chill, hang out with my son, because he is a college student and he'll be going off to having classes start soon. So, and as life continues, as our life continues in this realm, we must do our due diligence. This is the last thing I'm going to say. We must do our due diligence and be faithful in honoring and invoking our ancestors, and not letting others do it, not letting those who are not us invoking our ancestors and using the power of our ancestors against us instead of it being used for us. So until next time, be good to yourself and each other. Love you guys. Peace.